Welcome. Today, we're going to get into something really cool: how to design top-tier cloud architectures. We're going to do this by mashing together two powerful frameworks, one that's like a government-grade blueprint, and another that's a super practical, hands-on construction guide. This is where the theory meets the real world, to build something that's seriously solid.
So this is the big question, isn't it? It's the core challenge for every cloud architect out there. How do you juggle all that formal compliance stuff with the nitty-gritty real-world demands of performance and cost? Because if you mess this up, you're either opening yourself up to security risks or you're being inefficient. The good news is, today we're going to lay out the blueprint to get this just right.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First up, we'll look at the high-level plan, the cloud architecture blueprint. Then we'll get into the specifics of building with the AWS pillars. After that, we'll see how the blueprint meets the pillars with a real-world example. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with your master checklist. All right, let's jump right into part one, the cloud architecture blueprint. Here, we're really going to focus on understanding the what of our design, and we're going to do that using the NIST framework.
Okay, so the most important thing to get about the NIST framework is that it's all about the what, not the how. It's not a step-by-step instruction manual. What it does do is give us a universal language, right? A common vocabulary so that everyone, the engineers, the security team, the business folks, are all on the same page. It basically answers the question, hey, what are we even talking about here? And honestly, getting that straight is the absolute first step you have to take before you even think about writing a single line of code.
So, to build that common language, NIST breaks it down into these 5 major players. You've got the cloud consumer, that's us, using the services, the cloud provider, who's offering them, the carrier, moving the data, the auditor, checking everything, and the broker, who might manage relationships. The magic here is that by just defining these roles so clearly, you immediately know who's responsible for what. And that right there is the foundation, the absolute bedrock of good governance and security. And this table, man, this just lays it all out so perfectly. It shows how responsibility shifts depending on the service model you pick. So with infrastructure as a service, or IaaS, you, the consumer, are managing everything from the OS on up. But then you move over to platform as a service, PaaS, and boom, the provider takes over the runtime, the middleware, the OS. By the time you get to software as a service, or SaaS, they're pretty much managing the whole shebang. Getting your head around the shared responsibility model, it's not optional. It's absolutely critical.
Okay, on to part 2, building with AWS pillars. Now we're going to master the how using the well-architected framework. We've got our blueprint, now it's time to grab the tools and actually start building.
And this is the simple but powerful connection right here. If NIST gives us the what, the big picture, the roles, then the AWS well-architected framework gives us the how. It's the practical, nitty-gritty guide for building really high-quality systems on AWS. You absolutely need both to get this right. It's like one gives you the map, and the other one teaches you how to drive the car.
So this entire framework is built on these 6 pillars, and I want you to think of them as a value system for your architecture. It's not good enough for your system to just work. No way. It has to have operational excellence. It's got to have security baked in from the ground up. It needs to be reliable so it doesn't fall over when something goes wrong. It has to have performance efficiency so you're not wasting resources. And yeah, of course, you got to keep an eye on cost and, now more than ever, sustainability. These pillars are your yardstick for every single design choice.
Yeah, and this quote from AWS really nails the whole spirit of the framework. It's not a test you take once and then you're done. Forget that. It's about learning, measuring, and improving. It's a continuous cycle. You build something, you measure it against these pillars, you see where you can do better, and then you iterate. It's this awesome feedback loop for making your architecture better and better over time. All right, section 3. This is where the rubber meets the road. Blueprint meets the pillars. Let's see how these two big ideas actually work together. We're going to take a super common example, a 3-tier web application. So just a super quick refresher for everyone. A 3-tier app has, 3 tiers. You've got the web tier, that's the user interface, what people actually see. Then there's the application tier, that's the brains of the operation, where all the logic lives. And finally, the data tier, where you keep all your data. Pretty straightforward, right? Classic stuff. Okay, and this is the aha moment. This is where it all clicks into place. Let's look at the web tier. We're using services like elastic load balancing and auto-scaling. Now let's map it. From the NIST side, we're the consumer managing the app. AWS is the provider managing the hardware. Which AWS pillars are we hitting? Well, reliability and performance efficiency, right? We're handling traffic spikes so it doesn't crash. Perfect. Now the app tier. We're using EC2 or maybe Lambda. Here, we're really focused on operational excellence and security. And finally, the data tier, with something like RDS. Here, NIST is clear. The provider is managing almost everything, so we get to focus on the reliability and security pillars, turning on encryption, setting up a multi-AZ deployment so we're resilient. See? This is what it looks like. This is architecture in action. So we're at our final section, your master checklist. The big takeaway here is that these frameworks aren't separate, they're complementary. Let's distill this all down into a checklist you can use for your next project. Okay, here's your playbook. First, always start with NIST. Figure out the actors and responsibilities before you do anything else. Then, as you're actually building, use those 6 AWS pillars to gut check every single decision you make. And a few other key things. Automate everything you can, classify your data so you know what needs the highest level of protection, and please, plan for failure. Design for resilience from day one. And finally, remember, this whole thing is a loop. You have to continuously evolve. That's how you build systems that are truly built to last. And that's really the final thought I want to leave you with today. Getting your architecture built is, well, it's really just the beginning, isn't it? A great architecture isn't some static monument you build and then just walk away from. It's a living, breathing system. You have to constantly be measuring it, learning from it, and refining it. So the question for you is, how are you going to use these frameworks to make sure your systems don't just get built well, but that they stay that way?